So the first thing I'd like to do is step through the environment itself. So the LSO would see this, but with a stereo view. But for presentation purposes, I'm going to have a monocular view. I'm also turning off the sound so that way it doesn't become a distraction. So this is what the LSO would see in stereo view. On the flight deck, what I have is all the different aircraft that we have in our inventory right now and that LSO could possibly see with his career. So this is the LSO. This is the LSO display station. You have two sets of them the same way you would have at the carrier itself. With the controller for the LSOs who are inside the simulation, they can control either headset or either set of displays. In addition, they can step through all the different buttons that they would at the carrier. So for instance, if the LSO wanted to show ACLS on the top screen, you could do that and then that would be incorporated. You see that the dials are moving, so the actual ship inside the environment is sending information. So all this is not just random information, this is actually what is happening inside the environment. Some other screens to note are the incorporation of all the ARBs. So currently the only way that an LSO would know how to step through an ARB through the LSODs is actually when the LSO is on board a carrier or at the LSO schoolhouse. So this is a faithful representation of the ARBs inside the LSODs. They can manipulate all these. I got these from the PDFs of all the ARBs and put them within Unity. Of note, how I designed the LSO display system. I got the original design documents from the LSO school itself, about an 80-page document, took that, processed it, and put it within Unity, so that way it has the same behaviors that the LSO would have in real life, as faithful as possible. The other thing that I've incorporated within this for the LSO is the ability to do moveless. So with a simple right thumbstick click, the LSO now has the same control that he would have with moveless, giving him the same output that he would actually have in the carrier environment. This code right now will just show this. It isn't hooked up to the aircraft as well, but that's something you could do as well. So for instance, if the LSO shows the pilot a high on the moveless, then the aircraft could respond by reducing power. So the next thing I'd like to show is the ability of the instructor to manipulate the environment. So with the instructor's controller, one thing he can do is start manipulating the winds. So this would be the same thing that they would see, that the LSO would see as far as winds being out of limit and wind over the deck. All this is correlated. All this links up to the Platcam screen. So the same information that they would see again in real life, they're seeing within this simulation. All right. So at this point, I'd like to show an aircraft making an approach and how the instructor can manipulate that. So I'll do an E2C Hawkeye. And just to show that this is actually correlated, if you look at the ACLS screen, this actually maps to what the aircraft is doing. So right now he's climbing and turning. So going back to the centerline video, as the E2 Hawkeye is coming down, and you'll start to be able to break him on the distance. You'll be able to see him maneuvering through the screen, and what I'm doing as the instructor is I'm just manipulating one of the joysticks to how I want the aircraft to behave. And this itself is good for the LSO. Something else I can do is give the gear status and the lens status of the aircraft, as well as telling that the LSO that it's a clear deck. So all those things need to be within acceptable parameters in order for the LSO to receive an aircraft. So to also show some of how this can be dynamic, right now I'm showing a daytime scene, but on the carrier, anytime it's night, it's always dark. So this shows the representation of what's happening at nighttime. So on the horizon, we have a horizon reference light, the same way you would have on a carrier. So it could be a destroyer in the background, or the helo back there as the point of reference for the LSO. I have the ambient light kicked up pretty high, but you can actually lower it to a low of an intensity as you want. But for demonstration purposes, I thought I kicked it up. So I'll show an aircraft coming down in this environment. So nighttime environment, you have a good perspective on what the aircraft looks like when it's coming down. And as I'm showing this, you may not be able to pick this up, but you can definitely see the wing waggle with the aircraft at range. Notice that the range counter is counting down, as well as you have the closing speed as well. So all that information is pertinent. You can also have all the different screens with ISIS or whatever screen that you need to be looking at the time. So it has that functionality. So the instructor LSO once again can manipulate the deck status. And now the LSO himself, the controlling LSO, has the ability to give both cut lights and wave off lights. So as an example, the aircraft's coming in, it won't respond to a power call, the lineup is all messed up. The LSO can wave them off, and then the behavior can eventually be incorporated that the aircraft would wave off.